Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 847, written by whatsupitsemon, that time when reality repeated. I've experienced other glitches, but nothing of this magnitude or so readily obvious to my perception. This glitch was a couple months ago, and I'm still thinking about it. But I've just chalked it up to weird crap happening, and things like glitches are bound to happen if you're paying attention. I was waiting in a hotel room for a ride. My room was on the ground floor with a view out of the peephole to the parking lot. Maybe 3 cars in the lot, so I was peeking out to see when my ride arrived. The initial event. I looked out of the peephole and saw a red car had pulled up, not my ride, and a girl getting out. She was talking on the phone far enough away I could hear her voice, but not what she was saying. She had on a yellow skirt and sunglasses, and yes, I creepily watched her for a few seconds because I'm a guy and she looked good, which is why I only remember the skirt. I'm a lower body appreciator. Anyway, she walked towards the building and I could clearly hear her say, "I love you," in a goodbye way as she left my field of view. I didn't think anything of it and wandered back in my room for 30 to 90 seconds. Hard to say exactly, but it wasn't long. At which point, my ride texted me they were pulling in. Back to the door. I went back to the door and looked through the people again, I'm not sure why, and watched exactly the same scene replay. Girl in yellow skirt and sunglasses getting out of the same red car in the same spot on the phone. Watched her walk towards the building on the phone and the same very clear, "I love you," closing statement. I cannot explain this. My first thought was logically someone could go back to their car if they forget something or whatever. This was exactly the same actions and conversation. I remember doing like the cartoon triple take and my mind being super incredulous at watching this repeat. Not sure what the hell happened, and I'm just going with weird crap happens. Makes me think of déjà vu in the Matrix for sure though, and now I can't help but think, what did they change? Case notes for file 847. That time, reality repeated. So I'm increasingly convinced that we do live in a buffered reality. You saw a scene repeat because indeed something was changed, and maybe that's why it repeats. Maybe the Matrix was actually spot on with that theory. If something has to be altered in the universe by the developers, there's a certain reset, at least local, that has to happen. So a certain scene that's already buffered is reinstituted, replayed, because an alteration is made that isn't along that pre-rendered timeline. And that makes sense because otherwise the domino effect, the butterfly effect would reverberate and the changes would be immense. Basically the whole scene would replay. Think of a video game where you can resume from replay and then you make even a couple different choices in that tiny amount of time and then the whole thing will end differently, or can. So the small choices have a massive impact in the long term. But I think that it's tailored specifically where most people won't notice it, so it's always happening behind closed doors and elevators, out of sight, out of mind. I don't think you were supposed to look through that peephole a second time. Or maybe it just didn't really matter that you know. It's a small glimpse into the true reality, and now that you know, well, you can tell others, but I guess we can't do much about it, at least as far as we know. But yeah, true déjà vu. Case file number 848, written by Crazy Chaos 24, Channel Suffering. So about a year ago, I had fallen asleep with my TV remote right next to me on my bed. To preface this, I have no bed frame. It goes mattress, box spring, and then floor. The next morning I woke up and my remote was gone. I thought that maybe it could have fallen off my bed, or I moved it by accident and didn't remember. But when I got up and began to look, it was nowhere to be found. I tore my bed apart and looked between my bed and the wall on the opposite side of the bed and that back wall, checking behind my nightstand, around my nightstand. I checked the end of the bed all around my TV, and since that day, I have searched everywhere in my room and tore it apart and still have no idea where it could be. Both of my parents have denied taking it, and even if they did, why keep up a prank for a year now, you know? I'm just absolutely baffled. Case notes for file 848, Channel Suffering. Yeah, just another classic case of DOP. I don't think it'll ever return its too low value an item. I think ultimately the universe doesn't really care about those. It's total apathy. It de-rendered, it's not supposed to be gone, but it is. And yeah, along the buffered timeline, maybe it's related to how impactful not having that item around will affect the pre-rendered timeline. Maybe if, for instance me, losing my tennis balls, if somehow not having those tennis balls would massively shift where I end up in life, then they would have been returned. But I don't think it did. I still would be here making stories even if I had my tennis balls. So, I don't have them back. Oh well.
Creepy file number 66, written by Lbrsyncd, The Rocky Mountains Hitchhiker. This was back in April 2018. I had gone to Colorado for a concert and was just driving around checking everything out before and after. The day before the concert, I'm driving through the Rockies because I thought it'd be cool, I guess. It was already probably 9 p.m. at this point. I get to a gas station and there's an old lady with a giant suitcase. I went inside, bought a pack of Swishers, got gas, and as I was leaving, she asked me for a ride. At the time, being young and stupid, I said, "Sure, hop in, ma'am." Then she had me get her giant suitcase in my back seat, and we were off. The ride started off pretty normal at first, just talked about life. She did most of the talking, mostly about her kids and family. She claimed that she was hitchhiking to Alaska for some insane reason I can't remember. Anyways, I had some plant matter that I decided to just give her and let her enjoy the high while we were driving. Not sure why I did that. Maybe to get her to shut up a little. Eventually, she asks if I want to try her version of plant matter, but keeps mentioning how it tastes funny, which was absolutely a red flag, so I politely said no. Then she started getting weird, talking about homeless camps where people smoke much stronger substances. Then I actually got a good look at her and realized she was probably like a 40-year-old addict and not as old as I thought she was. Also, I think I saw an Adam's apple, and that could have been a dude. Yeah. Anywho, she started pointing out the rest stop signs or whatever, which were like 100 plus miles out, and was trying to convince me to go to one with her. And kept saying, "I don't have any money, but some people will have you provide inappropriate services if you give them a ride." And at this point, I'm actually driving like a maniac in the middle of a pretty bad snowstorm at the time, in hopes that I'm more visible and noticeable to people if anything were to happen. I was terrified for my life, politely refusing all of her advances. Finally, we get to a town on the opposite side of the Rockies from Denver, and I pull up to a gas station and say, "Okay, I gotta go back to Denver and get some sleep. I'm dropping you off here." And all she said was, "You're a very smart young man." And I helped her unload the suitcase and left, thanking God I was still breathing. If any of my actions are questioned, this was at the time of my life when I was particularly lost and not in a good mental state at all. I definitely shouldn't have been roaming Colorado by myself. Smaller guy, no weapon aside from a knife. Honestly, I'm incredibly lucky.
Case notes for the creepy file number 66, The Rocky Mountain Hitchhiker. Man, that's a creepy line. When she said that, "You're a very smart man." That's like what a predator would say when it's admiring its prey that escaped its clutches. Like, yeah, just giving a bit of praise where it's due, right? I don't think she had anything good planned for you. At the very minimum, she wanted to rob you, I would guess, and maybe more. It's even possible that this was related to human trafficking. It's a plague that most people don't really think about, but it's very widespread. It affects hundreds of thousands of people everywhere. So it's no joke. Be careful out there.